We have a ton of news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI, and SSDI. Continue watching this video because you don't want to miss out on this. So as the Federal Reserve continues to address the rising inflation rate, there are now 4 other states that are boosting monthly benefit checks. For the low income, that is. It's going to help so many people in America, everybody, and you could be getting that stimulus cash very fast. Inflation already skyrocketed in June, which came down to a moderate level in October. Many states declared their inflation relief fund as a stimulus check. California, other states like South Carolina, and Massachusetts are among the states that are helping out the people with their own stimulus payments. And I like to see that, and it's good to see. Massachusetts declared to send out 14% of the tax return to taxpayers if the taxpayers have filed more taxes than they earned. And there is a higher chance of getting them a portion back. In a tax season, they have collected $3 billion in excess tax this year. And there are people who are yet to file their taxes from 2021. They have until September 15th to do so. And now, a plan also includes expanding the senior circuit breaker and the rental deduction cap, alongside $55 billion budget pitch that carves out hundreds of millions of dollars for investment, childcare, transportation, and climate. Michigan State has also declared $180 worth of stimulus as inflation relief funds, and the amount is set for both individual tax filers and joint tax filers. Democrats say the proposed amounted to $1,000 in savings and helped so many people in the state.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair Powell, thank you for being here. In your opening statement, I was here for that. I think you touched on some of the interest rate sensitive components of GDP and non-interest rate sensitive components of GDP. I think you said that we do have a concern in the latter group, inflation expectations, labor market tightening, et cetera. Can you tell me a little bit about how you're looking at the interest rate sensitive and non-interest rate sensitive readings, and whether the Fed what sort of Fed actions can take place to avoid a zero landing?
Sure. So on the housing sector, of course, is interest-sensitive spending is the thing that they're very directly affected by our policies almost right away, and the poster child for that is housing. And so you've seen mortgage rates now go back up over 6%. You've seen housing starts come down. Activity in housing has declined as people are reluctant to get out of their the low rate mortgages they had before. So housing activity is slowing down. On the other hand, housing prices went up in the aggregate more than 40% since the beginning of the pandemic. So we may be seeing some price correction on that too. So that's coming along. And housing inflation, which is a big part of the CPI, a little bit smaller part of the PCE, the inflation measures we follow, or we rely on, that will be coming down because of the slowdown in the housing market. I guess I would say the service sector is probably less interest sensitive than that, and that's restaurants, it's travel services, travel and leisure, it's healthcare, it's financial services, healthcare services, all those services, and that's a big part of our economy. This sector is 54%, I guess, 56% of consumer spending on non-energy and food. So it's very important, and it's about
new American cities, and that's not just on the coast, as I said. It's in every part of the country, including many towns and cities and local communities that have been forgotten for much too long. Much too long. And it's not an accident. It's a strategy. When I came to office, a strategy that we stuck to, even in the face of a lot of criticism, a strategy that we put into action.
New batches of payments are being sent out. You may qualify for a last-minute inflation relief payment from your state, and even your city. Folks, listen up, because we got the stimulus coming your way very soon, very fast, and pretty much sooner than you expect. As I'm saying, Joe Biden, Democrats are working on some new bills that would prevent the low income from receiving the monthly benefit checks. And now, in 2020, don't forget about Congress sending out 3 stimulus checks, the last of which paid out in March 2021. But folks, since then, several states have already approved additional stimulus for the residents. We need to know that top congressional lawmakers have already proposed several new relief plans to help the people during this time. Plus, I want to also discuss that in 2022 and 2021, as inflation went pretty much crazy, well, many states decided to take in action and begin issuing their own credits and payments to their residents. They called everything from tax rebates to middle-class refunds. Each state devised its own payment amount and qualification standards. Unfortunately, for those living in the Midwest, most payouts came from the states along the two coasts. But there were a few Midwestern states that did make out payments to residents. According to Yahoo News, there are 2 states right now in the Midwest where residents may still be able to claim a last-minute check. Indiana began receiving the checks and refunds of $125 for qualifying singles and $250 for joint filers. There was no income requirement, but residents were required to have filed both their 2020 and 2021 Indiana state tax returns. Second round of rebates in the amount of $200 per qualifying taxpayer began being sent out by direct deposit of August. Taxpayers have already qualified for the $125 rural automatic credit sent and eligible for the $200 payment. Folks, what I'm saying is that for state residents that only qualified for this $200 payout rather than both, payments are still being withheld. The money will be reversed and released to the taxpayers when you submit your tax return, and you'll probably get that check on January 2024. January 1st, 2024. Now, part of the reason for the extra step is that residents who didn't file anything with the IRS, well, you're in pretty much big trouble because, well, House Republicans began their tenure in the majority by passing a bill that would take away the $71 billion that Congress gave the IRS, fulfilling a campaign promise, even though the bill is unlikely to advance even further in the House. So the Democrats have beefed up this IRS over the next decade to help offset the, cost of top health, environmental policies, and everything they passed last year, just to replenish an agency already struggling to provide basic services to taxpayers and ensure that families and fairness is in tax compliance. Well, the money's on top of what Congress already provides to the IRS through the appropriations process, and immediately becoming a magnet for the GOP campaign ads. Now, this bill to rescind the money passed the House on a party line vote from 221 to 210. Democratic-controlled Senate has vowed to ignore it, while shortly before the vote, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office projected that rescinding the extra IRS funding would only increase deficits over the coming decade more than $114 billion. This created an awkward moment for Republicans who have been saying that addressing deficits would be one of the top concerns of the majority. Even Charles Reddick, the former commissioner of the IRS, said in a message to the agency that in November, the additional money will help in many areas, not just beefing up tax enforcement. He said the investments make it even less likely for honest taxpayers to get the IRS letter. And to get the IRS letter, well, don't do it. Yes. We got 10 news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI and SSDI, a ton of news that I want you to know, a ton of Social Security benefits, a ton of stimulus increase, and a lot of stimulus news just to talk about. So here we are, here it is. It's official, the big announcement has been made to low income that received the monthly payments. Starting in just a few weeks, you should be getting your stimulus checks pretty fast. What I'm saying, folks, is this. Several changes are coming in 2023.